touch the water that's hashaka. Maybe it was the brine that touched that water, and you never got the hashaka going on. He says hanach batlu beruba. That if the water is the majority, then the water did the hashaka. If the water is not the majority, then the tzir is the one that's tamei. The tzir doesn't become tamei anyway. But I do have that little bit of water in there. He says, okay, that little bit of water is nullified in the tzir. Amar Rabbi Yirmiyah. Rabbi Yirmiyah adds on to this. Leishanu al litbal ben pitay. This is only if you're going to eat it plain with your bread. Avalikdeira loy. But if you're going to put it into a pot to cook, then you're going to have a problem. Why? Because matzah minas mina v'neir. Because that water that we were hoping would be bottled in the tzir that wasn't tamei is now joining up with other water that's in the pot. You're going to end up with more water than tzir. You're going to end up with awakening the tamei water that was nullified before. You're now going to have a larger size. It's going to get awakened, and you're going to be stuck with tamei water that was never purified.
You say that again?
Yeah.
Please.
I have a mixture of brine and water.
Right.
If the water's the majority, then I put it in this I put this brine and water in the mikveh, and I let the waters touch, and now it's pure. So if the waters were the majority in this brine and water mixture, so then it became pure because the water, the water becomes pure when it touches other water. If the brine is the majority, now the brine was never tamei. It was only the water in there that was tamei, because brine isn't really a food, it's just the sweat that comes out of the fish. But the water that was tamei maybe never became purified. So now I have some tamei water there inside this majority of brine. So we say, well, don't worry about that because it's batal. Like we said before, then it's batal. So we said, okay, if it's batal, then fine. But that's only if you're going to eat it plain. But if you're going to mix more water into it by adding this brine into a pot and into a whole stew, then the water is going to get awakened. The tamei water is going to get awakened by the added water that you put in there. Now you're going to have more water than brine, and now you're back to the tumah.
That's what I thought you said. That's what I don't understand. That's because once the status is changed, then it's all tahor.
Right.
It's
That's
changed.
what we're gonna ask. The Gemara's gonna ask them, if that helps. Yosef Rav Dimi v'Karmel Shmaita. Rav Dimi was sitting and he says over this halacha from Rabbi Yirmiyah. Amalei Abaye says to him, "V'chituma shebatla chayzev v'niyura." What do you think? The tumah that's batal is gonna get reawakened? It's already batal. Amalei. So he says, "Batlei Tizbra, you don't hold so." Listen to the following Mishnah. V'hatanan, it was taught in the Mishnah. Sa truma tmeya. You see, truma has to be eaten by a kohen. Truma, no one else can eat it. Truma tmeya, the kohen is not allowed to eat. And shenafla lameya chulin. It falls into 100 sa of chulin, of mundane food that anyone is allowed to eat. So it says tahirin, it's batal, it's tahir. What do? The rest of the food doesn't become tamei because the rest of the food wasn't wet. So what do? Rabbi Eliezer Aimer tiraim b'tirkav. You have to take out one saw, and you let that saw sit and rot. And we assume shani Aimer hisa shenafli hisa shalsa. I assume that's the one that fell in. The one that I take out, I assume that's the one that fell in, and now I've resolved all my issues. The Chachamim say tala, it's batal. B'teyachal, and you eat it. Nekudim, which means you eat it dry. Oikloye, so you just roast it dry. Oitilish b'mei peris, or you can knead it. All of this grain you can knead it with fruit juice, because fruit juice doesn't make the food susceptible to tumah. Because we don't want that the one saw of tamei in here should make everything else tamei. Or you divide it into very small pieces. As long as you don't have in one area the size of an egg, because then the size of an egg would become tamei. The Tani Allah, so far we have no question yet. However, it was taught about this, Oisan Chulin. That Chulin that we said, Rabbi Eliezer mate alein. What do you do with that? Rabbi Eliezer says that you can eat the chulin, you just have to take out one, and you assume that one saw is considered the one that fell in. What do you do with it? It says yoichlon nekudim. You eat it exactly like we said in the Chachamim. You eat it dry. Exactly the same thing. You don't mix it with the other. You don't let it mix in a way that everything should become tamei. Va'amar Ula, and Ula says, it's a very long question. Matam, what's the reason why you have to do this? Maybe you're going to bring a measurement of chulin that's tamei from somewhere else. The kava oid miminzeh, and you'll have one measurement from this mixture, which we thought was batal. Savar avatlino beruba. You thought that maybe you can nullify that kav of tamei chulin into this kav oid, a kav plus a little bit, and say that I have the majority of tahar over the tamei chulin kivan dika hai mashu. But because that little bit inside is tamei, matzah minas minei v'neya. So we're saying like this. I have 100 sa of chulin that's tahar. Mixed into it is 1 sa of truma that's tamei. That mixture we say is nullified. However, I can't mix it in a way. I can't treat it that it's totally batal. Why? Because I'm concerned that I may take some of this mixture that has 1 to 100 and put it together with another mixture that has tamei, and say that I have 1 to 100 plus a little. I have a kav plus a little drop of this tamei mixture, which is now tahar because it's nullified. Mix it with something that's totally tamei, and say, look, I have more of the tahar mixture than the tamei. It should be batal. The reason why I'm not supposed to do that is because in this mixture of the tahar one, I have a drop 1 to 100 of tamei, and that 1 to 100 is going to get awakened by the tamei one, and it's going to come back to life. The tumah is going to come back to life. It's going to be reawakened. So Rav Dimi is telling Abaya, you don't hold that the tumah can get reawakened. We have a Mishnah that says it gets reawakened, based on Ula's explanation, according to what we do with Rabbi Eliezer. Abaya responds back. He says, Amalei im tumah ireres tumah. He says, hold it. Over there, the tumah, you're adding tumah into it. Tumah is going to awaken the tumah. But tahira ireres tumah. But you're going to say that pure water is going to awaken the water, the water that was tamei, that was batal. So, in this Gemara, I would have liked it to say a little different. It didn't say the way. See, the over here, you did hashaka on this. Now, really, the hashaka didn't work. It became batal. The hashaka doesn't work because the main thing is the brine. So but I say that the water is batal in the brine, and there's really no tumah here. So we say, but if there's going to be a problem if you add it into if you increase the water with tahar water, then you're going to increase the tumah. Abaya says, what, it's going to reawaken the tumah? You're just adding water. You're not going to the water was batal. So Rav Dimi says, 1 second. I'll show you that the tumah can get reawakened when I add tamei chulin into this mixture that had a drop, 1 in 100 of tamei truma, and it gets reawakened. Because over there I'm increasing the size of the tumah, and it's going to get reawakened. So Abaya says, yeah, but over there you're adding tumah to reawaken the tumah. Over here we're just adding plain water and you're saying that that's going to reawaken the tumah because you've increased the size. That's not it. Naftali is saying that the status of it changes when it's batal. And it doesn't get reawakened just because I increased more water. I never increased the tumah. Over here, I'm increasing the tumah. Okay, let's leave it over here.
Only 6:21.
Should I? Okay. So.
Wait. I have something to ask first. I know you won't keep on going. The other day, we were learning about gestations. Remember, it said. Do you remember what it was like? The difference between a goat and a sheep, and what animals they mentioned. Like it said, this one can have a baby.
Oh, how
7 years?
It's so old.
We were talking about its maturity age, of when it could have a baby, at which age of maturity.
At what
there was
age?
a discussion of gestation, but that was on Daf Ches, where it said the snake, how long it takes for a snake, 7 years, and each animal had a different amount of time.
So
that was on Daf Ches.
I looked up the wrong thing. I was just looking up to gestation, because I was stuck in Google.
If you go back to Daf Ches, that's where you have the discussion of the amount of time for each animal, different animals.
You know what's interesting? The goat and the sheep have the identical gestational age, which maybe also is one of the reasons why we do have a geep, or we looked at that, that cross between the goat and the sheep. I mean, obviously that's similar.
Well, the Gemara says that anything that has the same gestation can mate, and
well,
right.
There it is. It's the identical 145 to 155 days.
Uh-huh.
And the horse and the donkey is the same, but the cow is different. So it didn't pay for nothing.
Buffalo and cows.
They have it in there. I didn't write it down.